Hey everybody, welcome to Keeping It Real with Tiff and Carl. I'm Carl Rabun,
I'm Tiffany Salcido.
and we are coming to you live in location, on location. Where's your location, Tiff? Looks like you're on a beachfront property.
I'm actually at my house in California today. And
Oh,
but this feels like a vacation because I'm never here anymore. Like I literally have probably spent 10 nights at this house since October and we're in February. Interestingly enough, when I was pulling up here last week from being in Mexico for several weeks, I pulled up to the house and I told my husband, this is the first time I don't feel like I'm coming home. Like, this is the first time I don't feel like I'm coming home because my home is somewhere else now. Right. And so that was a real kind of turning point for me. I love this house, don't get me wrong, but this isn't home anymore. It's just kind of a Airbnb that I have to clean and get no money from. But
yeah,
it's not home. It's not my home anymore. I mean, it's my house, but it's not my home. So that was an interesting revelation.
very cool. Well, I am definitely not joining from home. I'm in a hotel room, and it's my first week of 2 weeks living at the pleasure of Holiday Inn.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we've been rolling. I started on Monday up in El Dorado County, and Melissa says hi.
Yes, it's my buddy. She told me.
Yeah,
She told me.
yeah. He said, yeah. Tiffany said, just anytime I show up in Riverside, she's gonna come get me. I said, well, you better hope she's not in Mexico.
I told her I'd pick her up in Riverside when we come to Mexico. I already told her we
There you
already
go.
made plans. I love Melissa.
Yeah, she's awesome. And then I ended up in Fresno the next day, and further down in Bakersfield now. I actually stopped along the way between Fresno and Bakersfield and got myself a chili verde pizza.
Ooh, ooh.
So my buddy Brandon, who I worked with when I worked with Kern County, yeah, he's from Delano, so we were down in Delano doing something, and so we had lunch, and I had this place called LR's Pizza. This was like 20 years ago, and he introduced me to chili verde pizza, and I've been talking about it ever since, and trying to find it, and finally I was on my way to Bakersfield, and said, well, why don't I stop and get some dinner there? And so I did. And I ordered a small pizza, and the small pizza was just loaded with chili verde, so I didn't even finish it, let alone the chili verde potato wedges. So I feel like I wasted food, which is hard for me, but I couldn't eat it all. It was so good. And the chili verde, the trick that Brandon told me, which is why I did it this way, was, you know, they bring it out and then you let it sit, and the chili verde congeals into the cheese and the pizza
Mm.
crust. And so it was definitely, so driving from Delano to Bakersfield, which is about 25-30 minutes, it definitely had time to seep into the crust. So it was good. It was good. I didn't have a fridge in here,
Oh
which,
no.
yeah, it frustrates me. I don't have a fridge to put in here, so I just feel like I really did waste food. I was planning on eating it for dinner tonight. Uh, Alas. But yeah, so if anybody's ever been interested, right, we have Chili Verde Pizza in Delano, California. This place called LR's Pizza.
Have you ever heard of or had a taco pizza?
You mean like a Taco Bell, like the
No, no, like a
Pizzazz?
taco pizza. Not a Mexican pizza, a taco pizza.
So like pizza crust with taco fixins. Yeah, yeah, I've had that. Yeah.
Okay. I had never heard of that a day in my life.
Uh-huh.
Apparently it's big in Oregon, which I didn't know. But my
Mhm.
husband's from Oregon, and when he moved to California, we were like deciding where to eat one day, and he's like, "Oh, let's go get a taco pizza." And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about? Like, I don't understand that." Um, So he told me what it was, and we obviously don't have that anywhere that I know of here. I'm sure there are places, but none that I've been to. But we went with one of the last times we went to Oregon. He took me to have the famous taco pizza, and I loved it. It was really, really good. Like
Right on.
taco pizza is a good thing. It's
Yeah.
disrespectful to the taco and the pizza, but it's still really good. But it's like beans instead of like they do the pizza crust, and instead of like tomato sauce, they do beans and they do ground beef and then they do cheese. And then on top of that goes lettuce, tomato, and then crunched up Doritos. Apparently that's like the secret, crunched up Doritos and then taco sauce, like Taco Bell type taco sauce. But it's
Yeah.
actually quite nice. Quite nice
Hmm.
taco pizza. I literally thought he made it up just to like joke with me, but it's a real
It,
thing.
yeah, it sounds like, could have he could have been messing with you. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's everywhere in Oregon, like taco pizza,
Yeah.
like a normal thing. Same thing with fry sauce. He's like, you guys don't have fry sauce? I'm like, what the hell is fry sauce? It's just Thousand Island. But like, no,
Yeah.
we don't do fry
Yeah.
sauce is not a thing here.
Yeah.
We dip everything in ranch, like good people. You know what I mean? Like ranch on everything. That's what we do in California. Or
Sonic
guacamole.
has Sonic used to have fry sauce, and now they have this other type of sauce that I will order when I order from Sonic because I always get the tots, and it's
Hmm.
fun to dip, and it's similar to Thousand Island. I mean, it's ketchup and mayo based, but there's something else that they do, and it's really really good, almost like barbecue sauce. It's weird,
Like Chick-fil-A sauce, kind of, maybe a little
kinda,
bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
very
not a big
cool.
sauce person, believe it or not. I'm not a big sauce person. I like mustard is my jam, but like regular yellow mustard, I don't want to do whole grain weirdness. Some Dijon is cool every now and then as long as it's not too funky. Mustard's good for me, and I really like for fries and tots and pizza
Yeah.
and wings. I like ranch and buffalo together. So usually I'll get one of each and then I pour a little bit of ranch into the middle of my buffalo and then I
Hmm.
just dip it and get a little bit of both. That's like my favorite dip and sauce.
Wow.
Dip and sauce.
Yeah, a little buffalo and ranch. I could get with that. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
good. It's like my
Yeah.
favorite combo. And it's great
But
on pizza.
if I have to choose a sauce, I'm a tartar sauce guy. Good tartar sauce, you know. Yeah, no, not happening.
I like the only like time I like tartar sauce is if it's on a really good fish and chips. So
Yeah.
like there's some places in Dana Point. Dana Point's like my favorite place for fish and chips to go to the harbor. And there's this one place I can't remember what it's called, but they have the best fish and chips and the best tartar sauce. And it's weird because I actually hate ketchup. Like I hate ketchups. Ketchup, like if I taste it, I smell it, it grosses me out. But I love a cocktail sauce. I know that doesn't make any sense, but the ketchup with horseradish in it, which I don't like either of those independently, but you put them together, huge fan. Like for fried shrimp, cocktail sauce, I love it. But I can't, I, every time I like think that it's ketchup based, it grosses me out, but I still will eat it. Weird.
Wait, say horseradish again.
Horseradish. I'm probably saying it wrong. I don't know. We didn't learn that in the trailer park. You know what I mean? How do you say it? Horseradish?
Horseradish. Yeah. No, the first time you said horseradish, and then
Horseradish?
this
I don't
time you
know. I'm
said,
tired. Remember, I told you I haven't slept. I'm exhausted. Or my lisp is kicking in. The lisp I didn't have until I got tired.
well, I was just checking because I had a friend who used to, every time she said sandwich, she'd say sandwich.
My sister-in-law says sandwich.
Sandwich, yeah.
Sandwich. All
Yeah.
the time. Sandwich.
That's
I
an
don't
East
know.
Coast thing. That's an East Coast
Yeah.
thing. But my friend used to say sandwich. Every time she'd just be talking just like this, like normally, and all of a sudden, yeah, I'm gonna go get a sandwich.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I have a question of the day, but I have a question book now. 3,000 questions about you. And so I'm going to ask you, Carl, give me a number 1 through 3,000. This is a fresh new book.
Okay, 1 through 3,000, uh, 8,961.
No, 1 through 3,000. 800, what'd you say? 8,961? That's too many numbers.
Oh, okay. All right. Well then, um, 2,501.
Okay, 2,501. Here it is. What do you like to do at the park?
What do I like to do at the park?
What do you like to do at the park?
I guess if I had to say what I currently like to do at the park is I like to play tennis at the park. That's the place that I will play tennis is at a park. Um, it used to be playing baseball or coaching baseball, or taking my daughter, to the park, but now all of those are in the past. So if there's anything I'm doing at a park, it's usually going to be playing tennis. So yeah, playing tennis. How about you?
Drink beer.
Drink beer.
I was trying to think of like, when's the last time I've been to a park? I don't spend a lot of time at parks. You know why? Because there's kids there, and I'm not a
Hmm.
fan of the kids, right? So
Hmm.
I can't say I spent a lot of time at the park, but the last time I was at the park, I was drinking a beer, and I got a lot of enjoyment from that. But um, we liked to ride our bikes around town, and we had gone to like the other side of town. It was a pretty far drive, and so we stopped at Bevmo to just check and see what was on, what was going on in Bevmo. We ended up getting a couple of, of beers, and so then we rode our bikes and we stopped at this park because there was all kinds of activity going on, and we were nosy. And so we're
Hmm.
just sitting there, parked our bikes, sitting on a picnic bench, just drinking our beer and kind of watching everybody. And then what we found is that these families, this soccer team, was having a like family meeting. They were talking to parents about um, like uniforms and fundraisers. And so um, for funsies, I went and joined the parent meeting, started asking questions like, when do we get our duffel bags? And
Oh no.
we we sat there like really concerned parents, right? Just checking in with everybody, and then we got back on our bikes and rode home, and we laughed the whole way back, going,
Did
I
you
wonder
sign
if
up
the
for
parents are.
snacks?
Yeah, I did
Did you
not,
sign up for
but I
orange
did.
slices and
But I
Capri
did
Sun?
ask about them. I did ask about the snacks. Like, are we going to provide a vegan option? What are we doing for kids with gluten allergy? A menace to society. I thought I told you. I don't take anything seriously. So, anyways, I had to ask the hard-hitting questions for the parents who were afraid to ask. But I think that was the last time. So, cause problems. That maybe is my real answer. What do I like to do at parks? Cause problems. Cause
He likes
problems.
to join parent
Hmm.
advisory committees of things where she is not a parent.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I like to. I like to feel included. I like to
that's
feel
right.
included. But yeah, I don't do a lot of sports. I did go play frisbee at a park one time, and that was a lot of fun. But that was the first and the last time, because apparently I don't know how to throw a frisbee, so it's whatever.
You
I
don't know how
can't
to throw a
catch them
frisbee?
either. I mean,
Hmm.
I can throw it. It doesn't go in the direction it's supposed to, but it leaves my hand, so that's a win for me. I'm
So you
not
don't play
athletic.
you don't
No,
play frisbee golf at all.
I don't
Hmm.
do any kind of like organized sport or anything. I can swim, love swimming, love hiking, love walking, love riding bikes. Can't play any kind of team sport. Don't anything that has like balls involved. Not everything, but most things. Like tennis balls, volleyballs, basketballs. If it's gonna require any kind of like hand-eye coordination, I'm not your girl. Not at all.
Unless you're drinking beer, and then I bet you probably are like Jerry Rice or something like that.
Probably, but I haven't gotten that far. I haven't gotten that far for sure. But no, but like I drink beer when I bowl, and I'm really bad at bowling. I always like when the final score comes out, I always try to win and say it was golf bowling. Like it's golf bowling, the lowest score wins. I win again, and everybody's like, "No, that's not how we're playing." Whatever,
Yeah.
losers. Bunch of
You have the
losers playing with me.
Do you have the bumpers
I do put
up
the
in the
bumpers and I
alley?
still lose. Yeah, and I still lose. I still lose. I'm not,
Um,
again, any type of hand-eye coordination, don't count me in. I always say the only thing I run is my mouth. That's it. That's the only thing that I'm good at in that arena. I can cheer for anybody though. I'm a
mhm.
good fan. I'm a great fan. Really great fan. That is my role on any team. I will cheer you on um all the days. Great, great, great crowd member for sure.
Right on.
Yep. So today we're talking about facilitating client growth, right?
Yep.
I want to share like some of my growth. So
Okay.
can I share some personal growth here?
Absolutely.
So it's really weird. I'm like the most social, antisocial person that you've ever met, right? Social, antisocial. That's what I'm gonna call it. And I love people and I don't like them at the same time. I don't know how else to describe it. Like I'm a constant paradox, right? And so I've had this group of people that we've been friends for since I moved here, probably like a year or two into me moving down to Southern California. I started to hang out, and I met one person. She introduced me to her group of friends, and then, I became one of the group, and we can branch off and have like little side quests and stuff like that. And so, um, we get together a lot for like holidays and birthdays and celebrations, right? We don't see each other all the time. We don't keep in touch all the time, but we try to celebrate milestones together. So, anyways, before the pandemic, um, I was never around because I was always at work. And so I saw them again very sparingly, but we always had a good time. And they're fun people. I mean, we have a great time when we hang out. And then during the pandemic, when we couldn't go anywhere, we started to spend even more time together. And I remember telling one of the friends that because she was saying like how great it is to hang out more often, and I said, well, don't get used to this because once the world opens back up, like you're not going to see me again. And then the other part of like being on the road all of the time is that when I'm home, like the last thing I want to do is like go out. Like I just want to be home. I want to like disconnect, like ground myself, like just relax because being on the road is just a lot of work. And I don't always feel social. I don't always want to spend my Saturday going out and doing stuff. So anyways, so I went to this birthday party for this friend and we were out in the middle of the desert. They rented this beautiful house. It was a great party, like great, like the decorations were beautiful, the ambiance was beautiful, like everything was fantastic. And it was like a 50th birthday party. So he had all his friends from his life there, and it was really a great, great party. The wife had gotten him a mariachi band and they came and played and it was cool. But there was a few like weird conversations that I had with like friends of the friends. One of them in particular, like I'm still pissed off about it. Like I haven't been able to let it go. And it was just a weird like conversation to have at a birthday party. But he was a white guy. And my friend, one of my good friends, she's Mexican and she's indigenous, and her mom is Norwegian. I don't know how that all worked out, but there they are. But she's very dark skinned and dark hair, and she looks very, very Hispanic. And she talks about that a lot about her Latina roots, and her husband happens to be black. And we've experienced racism in different places. He happens to be like someone important in politics. And so there's a lot of times where like things will happen when we're out and I have to like get him out of here. Let me use my white privilege to like distract and calm down the situation because I don't want any more drama to happen or whatever. So nonetheless, my friend, the Latina woman, was talking with the white guy, and they called me over and were asking me. He says, well, do you think racism is real? And I said, yeah, absolutely, it's real. He says, well, I just don't see it. And I said, well, of course you don't. You're white, right? You're white. And then he went on to say, oh yeah, but I wasn't born with any privilege. I didn't have no silver spoon. I grew up with black people and I was poor and I was this. And I said, okay, like, what point are you trying to make here? Like, I want to follow you. I want to follow you, but I'm not like, how does this prove there's not racism? And he's like, well, I'm just saying I didn't have any special advantage over my friends and the people I grew up with. And I said, maybe you didn't see it, but I guarantee you that your skin color and the way that you look gave you an advantage over maybe the friends you hung out with. That doesn't mean that privilege is without struggle, privileges without hardship. It doesn't mean that your life has no problems. It just means you have advantages and people will be more willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, um, give you time to explain before they react. Like there's a lot of things that come with your white skin, regardless of how you grew up and where you grew up and who your friends were. And so he's like, but I'm not racist. I said, having white privilege in of itself doesn't make you racist, right? Being white doesn't make you a racist. But denying that racism exists because it hasn't happened to you kind of does, right? So I was just like, I'm not going to keep having this conversation because I'm trying to give him like statistics. I'm trying to explain to him like situations and policies, and he just wasn't hearing it. So I just was like, you know what? Enjoy the party, right? So I'm all irritated. Like my whole like party buzz is gone. I'm like ready to go. I don't even want to be there anymore because I'm irritated. And then I see him go and find my Mexican husband and ask him the same question. Hey, bro, do you think racism exists? And so my husband is giving him like very specific examples of experience of racism that he's experienced and
Hmm.
talking about how my wife is white and I'm Mexican and we're both American citizens. We were both born in California and like the opportunities that I have had compared to the opportunities that he has had
Hmm.
in the same place. Like we're together. And what's offered to me versus what's offered to him. And he's like, what else could it be? Right. And this guy's just not having it. So then I see my husband starting to get like his hand movements start
Yeah,
getting bigger. And I was like, yeah, we got to go.
yeah,
So I'm like, come on, Chelsea, we're out of here. So I have to like fish him out of the pool because it was a pool party. I get him out. We are going home, but I was so irritated. And that was Saturday night. I was cranky all day Sunday. And I just was like, putting like I'm a thinker. I think after the fact, I'm always kind of processing. And then I told him, I'm like, you know what? I think I've realized I think we've outgrown that friend group. Like I'm not finding joy in that environment anymore. Like we're too far apart, like in like our belief systems. I think we're and I'm not saying they're not fun people. They're fun people. I have no grudges against any of them individually. I don't think I'm a good fit for it anymore. I'm just in a different place. And I think the growth, talking about facilitating growth, the growth here is being able to recognize that sometimes you grow out of friendships and sometimes you grow out of environments and sometimes you grow out of stuff. Like my home, again, coming home to my home and not feeling like it's my home anymore, that's growth for me because now I know that the direction I moved in was the right thing for me because I found like the place where I'm most happy. And so I share that because it's not easy to like acknowledge that the people who I've spent so much time in my life with recently that have brought me so much joy and happiness are just not for me anymore. And it's almost I feel guilty about it. And at the same time, I also feel free. Like I feel free because I'm not having a good time anymore. I'm not having a good time. I was so ready to go. So ready to go. And I'm still mad about that guy. Like, how do you deny how do you deny it?
it's like you said, he doesn't see it. And if he doesn't see it, then it's hard for him to, you know, either you can deny that it doesn't exist, or you can say, well, I don't experience it,
Right,
you know.
right,
And so, but for him to say that he denies it, for him that's part of his truth, right? And that's hard. If you are explaining something to somebody rationally and you have receipts and they still deny it, that's a level of engagement that is, like you said, not worth it's not worth the hassle. It's not worth the challenge. It's not worth the potential lawsuits or jail time for, right? So it and sometimes it's just better to, engage in other areas. And I've been there. I've been there in life, and I mean, one of the blessings I have in my life is the older I get, the more I realize I'm an introvert.
Hmm.
And I have enough friends,
Hmm.
and I have good friends. I have friends that I enjoy, and you know, I'm okay, not having to have too much contact with other people, right?
Yeah.
Um, Now some people say, "Oh, well, that's sad." No, it's not sad. It's something where, as somebody who is a people pleaser, right? Thinking that that's what you're supposed to do with people. With me, I've gotten to the point where I'm very comfortable with, the level of interaction I have with folks, and and establishing my boundaries.
Yeah.
And people drain me, and which may sound hard. It may sound weird because I'm a workshop facilitator,
Right.
but
Oh,
I teach a class, and then I've got an hour, or an hour and a half from Fresno to Bakersfield to, just decompress. It's funny. Um, our friend up in El Dorado County, Melissa, she asked me during the first break of our class, she goes, "Are you a person who likes to be alone during lunch, or, do you mind company during lunch?" And I said, "Well, thank you for asking me, first of all, but I generally eat alone, but it doesn't mean that I can't, interact with people, right?" And she said, "Oh, okay, because we're having tacos over in our building, and just wanted to invite you if you want tacos." I guess they catered some tacos, and there was three different types
nice.
of tacos. And I was ready to actually go eat Mexican food anyway. I was, and then, there's a place down the street from the El Forastero restaurant. I know El Forastero. I've eaten there before. I also eaten at the one near my house, and I know their taco salads. I know their pozole, right? I know their stuff, and I know that they're pretty consistent. And but she was, asking if I wanted to join in with tacos, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sure." I mean, if someone asks you
Right.
and you don't have a valid reason, for me, it's and she's a friend, and so it's like, "Oh, yeah, sure." So I walked in, I went to AMPM, got my diet Dr. Pepper,
Hmm.
and
That's good stuff.
yeah, yeah, that's another question for another time. What's the diet soda that tastes the most like the regular soda? For me, it's Diet Dr. Pepper every time. But so I went in, and and opened the door, and there was a whole bunch of people in there, and a lot of them I recognized from previous classes, and they were super
Hmm.
welcoming, and we had a great taco time. And then I was done, and I said, "Thanks, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and, call my wife." And so, it was a good time. I mean, I know how to socialize. I know how to mingle. I'm in two bands. I mean, I got to mingle, right?
Right.
But I'm like you. I'm pretty good at establishing my boundaries and recognizing that some people are for me, some people just ain't up to speed with me, and it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with it, right? I've been blessed with a lot of people that I enjoy their company, and they enjoy mine. If
Yeah.
I don't have any more, I might be okay.
Yeah. It's just, yeah. And it's weird because, um, like Melissa, I love Melissa. It's funny because I actually met Melissa through a training and she kind of did the same thing to me. She came up and she was like, I think we're friends now. And I said, "Oh, okay." It's just like, "Do you want to go to lunch?" I said, "Sure, let's go to lunch." And we became very fast friends, but we don't see each other super often. But I think that maybe is the other part too. It's scarcity where
Mhm.
we don't see each other so often. So when we do see each other, it's always like a pleasure because we get
Yeah,
to catch up. And I don't think, and I hate to be like, this goes back to my childhood, but as someone who like didn't have a lot of lifelong friends. I think we've talked about this on another episode. I moved around a lot. And so all of my friendships have been somewhat temporary. There are very few people who I have in my life that have been in my life my whole life, like very few. And actually none. I mean, my siblings, that's it. I think that's it. I don't think I have any friends from like elementary school or high school or even like early college. But with that being said, I don't necessarily feel that attachment to people. And I think the older I get, the more I really just love like time by myself and not feeling like social obligations. Like I don't want to go to clubs. I don't want to go to Vegas. I want to sit at the bar at a nice restaurant and enjoy a Shanky's whip on ice with some good bar food and maybe like an appetizer pizza and some spinach artichoke dip if they have a good one. Like that's my idea of a good time. Bedtime at 9, be in bed at 9 in my jammies, watching documentaries. Like, oh man, don't be flirting with me. That sounds sexy. You know what I mean? And so I think that facilitating growth, not feeling like just because people enjoy my company and they make me feel good about spending time with them doesn't mean I have to do it. I'm not obligated if I'm not enjoying myself. I don't have to feel guilty about that. That's my growth.
Yeah. Well,
But
congratulations.
thank you. It's just I think it's true for anybody that is like analyzing their life. And it's funny because we talk about this stuff all the time. Like one of the things I've been doing in Bakersfield and why I've been spending so much time there is I've been doing a customer service class. And like the first one of the first things I say is, I'm probably not going to teach you anything groundbreaking, about customer service. Like, let's just be honest, we know what good service is and we know what it's not. But we get stuck in patterns of behavior where we normalize what we're doing, thinking we're doing the right thing, not really considering the consequences of our choices. And sometimes what we do out of habit, out of culture, out of repetition, actually inhibits like our goals and what we're trying to do. And so if what we're doing isn't working, then we have to be willing to try something else. And so I like to practice what I preach, right? I don't want to share something with someone I don't do for myself. And I think because I've been teaching that class repetitively, I think I'm at 10 sessions right now. And I don't know how you feel about like doing the same class over and over and over again. By like the 10th session, I'm like, can you just get a hologram of me? Like, do I have to do this all over again? again, again. But with that being said, I think having it fresh on my mind and really thinking about that is where that growth came from. Because if it's not bringing me joy anymore, then why do I keep doing it? If I'm not like feeling like it's a good use of my time, then why do I keep doing it? And and that's like the liberation of I don't have to, right? I get to choose. And I'm not saying I'll never talk to these people again. I probably will because again, they've done nothing wrong. There's no um like situation that whatever. It's just we just believe different things and that's fine. That's great. I just don't want to spend my free time like having to engage with people who don't share my value system or my belief system. And that's
Yeah.
like where I have to draw the line because I shouldn't be at a birthday party like celebrating someone I really truly care about and living half a century and then leaving pissed off because some idiot you know and I'm gonna call him an
Especially,
idiot. I know like people are allowed to have their different belief systems. I truly believe that, but I don't have to agree with you and I don't have to think you're smart. So he was an idiot and I just don't want to be in that type of environment. I just don't. I want to
especially
surround
if he's that,
myself with people. Yeah,
especially if he's that part of that group,
right. I
right?
had never met him before, but
Oh,
but
okay.
I but I will say that a lot of the people that were there and a lot of people that I spend time with, they share a lot of the similar belief systems that he does. And so
Yeah.
because I like here's the reality is and I wasn't drinking because we were out in the desert and my husband was having a good time. And as soon as I saw him taking shots, I was like, oh, I'm driving home tonight. And so I had stopped drinking. And so I think too, like being observant and kind of watching everything happening and all of the different interactions and seeing like all the way that people were being, I was really just this isn't fun for me. You know, I this is not who I am anymore. It's not who I am. And like my time is so limited. I want to just really spend it doing things that are important to me. And I think I was even more like resentful because I came home from Mexico early to be able to come to this party. And I was just thinking to myself, like, I could still be in my happy place right now, living my best life. And instead, I sat at the border for 2 hours and, came here early and rushed out of there for what? To not have a good time. Like, life is too short for this, is what I was thinking. Like, life is too short. I should do what I want to do, regardless of what anybody else wants or needs from me. And I know that seems selfish, but I don't care. I only have one life and it's mine. So,
There's nothing selfish about it, establishing your own boundaries.
right.
And
Thank you.
anybody who
I
tries to,
knew that.
yeah,
I do
and
know that.
anybody,
I do know that. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, anybody who tries to make you feel bad about establishing your own boundaries doesn't respect your boundaries,
Right. And
right? So
that's why they're cut off anyways.
that's right.
And that's why I don't go to their birthday parties anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it was
absolutely.
cool. It was a cool revelation. Again, I felt a little bad about it in the beginning, and then I just was like, no, I don't. I don't feel that bad because
Yeah,
it's my life. I only get one of them. I might as well enjoy it, you know?
yeah. I had an interesting interaction today. I had somebody in my class that was actually probably, they were the person that kind of got me into what I do now, right?
Oh, interesting.
Indirectly. Yeah, they worked for me and then they left what we were doing. And when my job was ending, because it was temporary, they were working for the county and they switched over from what they were doing to another position and knew that I was looking for a new job and introduced me to their boss. And I filled out the application. They introduced me to their boss. They walked the application to their boss, and the rest is history. So
Hmm.
it was real cool to see them. And we hung out and we spent, the first break together talking, just catching up and said and we don't talk very often.
Hmm.
I used to feel real bad about this because I'm not the best catch up guy,
Yeah.
right? So I have friends that I consider pretty close, but that I talk to maybe, I send holiday greetings,
Right.
right? And, and
Right.
texts, right? And then when we see each other, when our kids are doing things or, you know, those things like that, I'll do my best to try to attend and interact with folks. And, and so, those are people. And so, but I mean, my good friends will tell you, I'm not the best at following up on stuff. I mean, if somebody asks me a question or wants to talk to me, I'm always there for them, but
Right.
I'm not going to be, hey, happy Cinco de Mayo. What are you guys doing? Right?
Right.
That's not me.
Me,
Um,
same.
so yeah, so my buddy, I didn't expect to see him and I was really excited to see him. I gave him a big hug when I saw him and we say we're going to keep up with each other just because we've, gotten older and our kids have grown. And he was there when my daughter was born, right? And just all those other things. Like his mom passed away last year, and she was a mentor for me when I worked at the Air Force Base, and all these other things. And then, so I was going to ask him, I was like, should I ask him about what he's doing for lunch? And he had somebody else that he came down from up in the desert with, so
Hmm.
they were going to a place and I was like, oh, that seems like a big commitment because it was a sit down restaurant.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I would just, I really would rather have just picked up. So I went to my favorite ramen house there in Bakersfield and picked up the ramen and went back to the training room and just ate my ramen. There was two other people in the room, but they didn't ask me questions or anything. I put my earbuds in. I was happy, rested, and rejuvenated for the afternoon class, right? So but I know I probably 10 years ago, I would have felt obligated to go to that restaurant. I mean, they came back with plenty of time to spare, but
Right.
I kind of have my routine, especially as somebody, I like to recharge my battery by myself,
Right. Right.
so,
Right.
and yeah, so it was, I don't want to say it's growth for me, but it definitely was something where just, respecting my boundaries and recognizing it's okay,
Yeah.
and we still connected, and we're still going to connect every now and then. I let them know the next time I'm in town, we can hang out, which is cool. But it's yeah, it's just it's an interesting interaction, right?
Hmm.
And I've grown too. And we were talking about that. We were talking about how as you grow, your priorities change, your values get more solidified, trust, um,
Yeah.
things that you look for and how you trust people, they change. And
Right.
so yeah, it was pretty cool. So
Right.
I'm glad I got to interact with my buddy, and I look forward to seeing him again. So
That's awesome. I love
yeah.
that for you. I love that for you. No, it's really interesting. Just like the whole dynamics of people, and I don't know, aging experience, whatever you want to call it, getting more comfortable with yourself, feeling more confident about your decision making. I mean, there's a lot of things I think that change for people, and help facilitate growth. And if you're not growing, you're staying stagnant. I don't know how else to say it. Not that people have to change for the sake of changing, but I do think like there's something to be said about like not growing in different areas. Like when I see people I haven't seen for a long time, and they're like, "Oh man, Tiff, you've changed," and I'm always like, "Thank you." I appreciate that because we learn and we grow, and I on Sunday, I'm telling you, I was feeling so like antisocial and just irritated with all humanity, which again, it's not all of humanity's fault. I just, sometimes we get into moods. And then I told my husband, I said, I think I'm turning into a grumpy old lady. And he's like, "You've been a grumpy old lady. What do you mean you're turning into one?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, you might be right. You might be right." But it's like the things that I care about and I'm passionate about, I'm all in. And it's just, I think and maybe this is again me getting older, but like when you start to notice that like your time on earth isn't it's finite and you have like only so many years left, right? I'm at least halfway through my life. At least if I my grandma lived until she was 92, I'm at least halfway there. So that means that I I guess that whole over the hill thing is a true thing. I'm on the other side where I have less time left than I started with. So it's like if you have this finite amount of time, like how do you spend it doing things that are actually like important to you and bring you joy and value to your life? And that includes like who you spend time with. Like I'm making a more concerted effort to talk to my kids more often, right? They're all living their own lives, but I'm like you, Carl. I'm terrible at like checking in on people. Like if I see something that reminds me of you or I hear a song that makes me think about you, I'll reach out. But to just be like, "Oh, it's Groundhog's Day, 6 more weeks of winter," like that's not who I am. I don't even send out holiday cards. Like my kids for Christmas, I Venmo them a hundred bucks, and that's it. Like it, that's just who I am. They love me anyways, but I don't I guess like the few I have a handful of really like good deep relationships, like all on one hand, all fit in one hand. And those ones I do nurture and those ones I do cherish and those ones I do make time for. But um life for me, life is too short to spend time where you're not enjoying it. And there's no obligation aside from like monetary obligations
Yeah.
where I'm gonna
Well,
spend time where I'm not having a good time.
and I would challenge you to think of the word you use. You're terrible at doing it. Are you terrible at doing it, or you
It's not a
prefer,
priority.
right? So it's not a priority, right? But just think about, the language we use when it
Right.
comes to that, right? I don't think I'm terrible at it. I mean, some people may think I'm terrible at it, but I just I connect with people when I connect with people. There's oftentimes I will think about somebody and out of the blue send them a message,
Right. That's how I
just
am.
because, hey, I was thinking about you the other day. We were at the ball game and I remember when we did this and that. I don't think it's terrible. I think society makes us believe that the things that we don't do that conform or what we used to do is terrible. We were just having this conversation the other day, no, today with my buddy I was telling you about. He was talking about how priorities change and growth change, and it's hard, especially in relationships, because you know, um, you may have met somebody, and then 25 years down the road, that is not the same person that you met,
Right.
right? And then
Right.
I paraphrased Muhammad Ali, and I don't know exactly the ages he said, but what Muhammad Ali said is, if you're the same person at 25 than you are that you are when you're 55, you've wasted 30 years of your life,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we're supposed to grow and evolve. We're supposed to get better. We're supposed to learn and recognize what's important to us and what brings us joy, what allows us to live our best life, right?
Yeah.
Jung says we really don't get to know ourselves until we're in our mid 40s, early 50s,
Hmm.
where we have, and the reason is because we live in a society. We are societal animals, right? We are social animals, social beings. Whether we need three people to be social or 30 people to be social, we have that need, and because of that, we have the pressures and needs of society on us. And so growing up, who are those pressures to tell us how to act? Our parents, our teachers, our coaches, our youth pastors, our, friends of our parents, friends, I mean, friends, parents, right? In our neighborhoods, those
Mm-hmm.
things like that, who taught us how to conform to our community. And then you get older, your
Yeah.
social groups, right? Your peer groups, your first significant others, right? Your first bosses, your professors, right? Those people that are meaningful to you. And then as you get older, your first serious relationship, your spouses, and even, your bosses and your direct reports. Then after that, what role do you play as a leader, right? And then even your children, do you play a specific role for your children that might be different than something that you did before, right? I was using the example of, I was in a band that played out a lot and did some tours and things like that, and then I had my daughter, and I didn't get back into a band for another 15 years because I didn't have the bandwidth and the time to be able to
Mm-hmm.
do both. And when she got older and was able to take care of herself and be, self-sufficient, I went back into it, and I went back into music, right? And I didn't
Right.
begrudge, I didn't I wasn't upset about not being in music. I just recognized there were certain things that were more important to me. And so, and we were talking about our value systems and what's important to us. And then I've been in relationships where, my value of what I do and what we do, Tiff, and traveling and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
I was in a relationship where that just didn't work out for the other person. The other person did not like the fact that I was gone for days at a time and
Mm-hmm.
coming back, even though what I'm doing is working, but it just didn't work for that person. And so
Right.
that
And that's
didn't work
okay.
out,
Yeah.
and I mean, luckily I'm the person I'm with now and likes, starfishing on her bed with my dog, and my dog gets mad when I'm home, right?
Right.
So, so just recognizing that she also is somebody who'd like to travel with me when she has the opportunity, right? So
Right.
it's it's with horses for courses, and the older that you get, the more that you recognize what brings you joy, what brings you comfort, what are the things that you're drawn to, and to find people who can complement those needs and celebrate you as a human being, I think is one of the most um, natural, but also um, one of the things that we resist because we think we're supposed to be the same person all the way through.
Yeah.
And if we don't really think about it very much, we can easily fall into that. Well, hey, this is who I was. Or somebody say, you used to like this. Oh, I guess I should still like it. Oh, no, shit, I don't have to like it. I
Right.
don't have to like it. Right. I can be a cranky old man if I want. I can talk about, what, but then also I can recognize what am I being cranky about? And is it worth being cranky? And is cranky serving me?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I think I've developed a pretty good sense of self. Somebody was talking about in the class today and this goes directly to what we're talking about. We're talking about setting goals with clients, right? And
Hmm.
creating client engagement. And somebody said, sometimes there's this feeling that we have to bend to the wills of our clients, that we have to acquiesce to them. How come, maybe, who should be bending to who? And I said, well, bending to me makes it sound like it's a competition,
Hmm.
right? So if you're bending to somebody else, that means you're losing. And so who's winning, right?
Right.
And if you have to win, well, this client who is in an existential need and is part of the most needy in our community is in crisis and long-term poverty is traumatic, you win. What did they do? Right?
Hmm.
And I said, what if they win and you acquiesce? What are you losing? The only thing maybe you're losing is the sense of pride or, whatever it is, but how is that serving the needs of the client?
Right.
Right. And so that's a real conversation to have with folks because if you are, if you're acculturated to our society, what is our society all about right now? Who's winning? Because if I'm not winning, I'm losing, and people are taking stuff away from me. So there's a scarcity mindset because of all the fear that we've, been inundated with. And why can't it be that we both win? How do we find a way to both win and recognize if there's a power imbalance? This person winning means that they're going to rise to our level, and a rising tide lifts all boats.
Hmm.
You know, if I give in to somebody's need, is it giving in or is it meeting their need to help them to become, a better citizen of our society, a better parent, a better person with opportunities that maybe they never had before, right? As opposed to sticking to my guns, which doesn't provide me any benefit other than that 30 seconds of I sure showed them,
Right.
right? And so it's such an important thing to think about when we are engaging with each other. What is it that we're trying to do? And what is the payoff for doing something that makes you feel like you are winning? And why does it have to be winning and losing?
Right.
This concludes part one of our episode. Stay tuned for part two, coming Tuesday to all major podcast platforms.